The auction yard was thick with dust and the sharp scent of sweat, both human and animal. The crowd buzzed with bored chatter as one scrawny horse after another was led into the ring, most destined for slaughter. But then he limped in a skeletal, scarred stallion with hollow eyes and a coat dull as old ash. No one even bothered to bid except for one man. A weathered farmer, his hands calloused from decades of work, felt something shift in his chest when their eyes met. Against all logic, he raised his hand. $50. The gavel fell. And just like that, the dying horse had a second chance. No one could have guessed that this broken animal, barely able to stand, would become the center of an unbelievable mystery. The farmer nursed him back from the brink, spending sleepless nights mixing warm mashes and soothing inflamed joints. Slowly, the horse began to fill out, his muscles reforming like a ghost stepping back into the world. But something was off. His strides grew stronger, yes, but there was an unnatural power in his movements, a density to his bones that made the vet pause during a routine checkup. Then came the X-rays. The screen flickered to life, and the room went dead silent. The numbers didn't make sense. Bone density 27% higher than any horse on record. The vet stammered, flipping through textbooks, muttering about legends, war horses. Not just any breed, but a bloodline thought to have vanished centuries ago. Carthanian Stormbloods, beasts bred for battle, capable of carrying armored knights through days of carnage without breaking. Their bones were near unbreakable, their stamina mythic. Kings paid fortunes for them. And now, here one stood in a dusty barn, bought for less than a bag of feed. But secrets like this don't stay buried. Word spreads. The farmer noticed strangers lingering at the fence, taking pictures. Then, the phone calls started, offers, threats, vague warnings about historical artifacts. And last night, tire tracks deep in the mud, leading right up to the stable door. The lock was picked. Nothing was taken. But they weren't after things. The farmer didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the barn, every rustle of the wind sent his pulse racing. He sat by the stall, a shotgun across his lap, watching his horse breathe slow and steady in the moonlight. Those X-rays changed everything. This wasn't just some sickly auction reject. This was something rare, something valuable. And if the wrong people knew about it, well, history had a way of repeating itself. The next morning, he dug through old books, searching for anything on the lost breed. The Carthanian Stormbloods weren't just strong, they were engineered. Centuries ago, kings and warlords bred them in secret, selecting only the toughest stallions and mares, generation after generation, until their bones were nearly unbreakable. Legends said they could gallop through arrows, shrug off blows that would cripple other horses, and outlast any foe in battle. But when the wars ended, so did the need for them. The bloodline vanished, or so everyone thought. Then came the first real clue. Tucked in the back of a local historian's journal was a faded sketch of a horse that looked exactly like his, down to the unusual star-shaped marking on its shoulder. The notes were scribbled in frantic handwriting, last of the iron hooves. If found, do not sell. Do not trust the men who come asking. They will kill for it. The farmer's blood ran cold. He thought about the strangers at his fence, the silent phone calls, the way his truck's engine had mysteriously stalled in town yesterday, right after a sleek black sedan pulled up beside him. Coincidence? Maybe. But then why did the vet suddenly cancel their follow-up appointment? Why were there fresh boot prints near his hay shed? That evening, as he fed the horse an extra scoop of grain, he noticed something new, a small, healed-over scar along its ribcage, too straight to be from an accident. Surgical. Someone had tried to take something from this horse before. And then, just before dusk, his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. No words. Just a single photo, a close-up of his own barn door, taken that night. The farmer's hands shook as he stared at the photo. Someone was watching him close enough to step onto his property without a sound. He grabbed his coat and stormed outside, scanning the tree line, the dirt road, the shadows between the barn and the old tractor. Nothing. Just the wind and the distant call of crows. But the air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. That night, he moved the horse to a hidden stall in the back of the barn, one he'd built years ago for a sick calf. He draped old tarps over it, stacked hay bales in front, anything to make it look abandoned. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He called his brother, the only person he trusted. 2 hours later, headlights cut through the dark, and his brother stepped out, a rifle slung over his shoulder. No greetings. Just a grim nod. You really found one of them, didn't you? Turns out, the legends weren't just stories. His brother had served overseas and heard whispers from old horsemen about a breed thought extinct horses so strong they could carry a full armored rider for days without rest. But it wasn't just historians or collectors who wanted them. There were rumors of a black market group that paid millions for rare animal DNA, especially traits that could be replicated. The next morning, the farmer found tire tracks again, deeper this time, like a heavy vehicle had idled near his gate. And something else, a small, black device, half buried in the mud near the barn. A tracker. They weren't just watching. They were marking the horse. Then, the vet finally called back, her voice tight. You need to bring him in. There's something in his blood work, something I've never seen. It's not natural. Before he could ask more, the line crackled, and a low male voice cut in, smooth as oil. We'd love to discuss those results with you. In person. The call dropped. The farmer and his brother exchanged a look. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about something far bigger and far more dangerous. That evening, as they prepared to move the horse under cover of darkness, a new message buzzed on the farmer's phone. This time, it wasn't a photo. It was an address, a remote lab 2 towns over, and 4 chilling words. Bring the horse. Or else. The farmer's truck rumbled down the back roads, headlights off, guided only by the pale glow of the moon. In the trailer behind him, the horse stood silent, no nervous stomping, no restless whinnies. Almost like it knew what was coming. His brother rode shotgun, fingers drumming against his rifle. Neither of them spoke. The address on the phone led to an abandoned biotech facility on the edge of the county, a place that had shut down years ago after some scandal. But the farmer knew better. Places like that never really closed. They just went underground. They parked a mile out and approached on foot, sticking to the tree line. The lab loomed ahead, its broken windows like empty eyes. But then movement. A shadow shifted near the loading dock. Then another. They weren't the only ones here. The farmer's phone buzzed again. Come inside. Alone. His brother grabbed his arm. This is a trap. But what choice did they have? If these people could track the horse, they could find his family. His land. Everything. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Inside, the air smelled like chemicals and old blood. Flickering fluorescent lights revealed a makeshift lab tables covered in vials, syringes, machines humming softly. And in the center of the room, a man in a tailored suit stood waiting, his smile not reaching his eyes. The man with the special horse. Then the farmer sought a padded stall in the corner. Not for his horse. For another one. A mare, thin but unmistakable, the same star-shaped marking on her shoulder. His stomach dropped. They already had one. They just needed his stallion to complete the set. The man gestured to the equipment. Do you know what we can do with genetics like this? Imagine soldiers who never tire. Athletes who never break. The applications are endless. His voice dropped. But we need your horse to finish the project. A door creaked open behind them. Heavy footsteps. The farmer turned and froze. The vet stood there, her face pale. But she wasn't alone. 2 armed men flanked her, their grips tight on her arms. Her eyes met the farmer's, full of silent apology. The man in the suit sighed. Such a shame. We really hoped you'd cooperate. He nodded to the guards. Take the horse. The rifle's click echoed through the lab like a thunderclap. The farmer's brother stepped forward, barrel leveled at the suited man's chest, but then the horse moved. Not the skittish sidestep of a frightened animal, but a slow, deliberate pivot, its massive body blocking the armed guard's line of fire. Its nostrils flared, breathing in the scent of the mare across the room, and for the first time since the auction, its ears pinned back. Not in fear. In recognition. The suited man's smirk faltered as the stallion's head swung toward him, eyes reflecting the fluorescent lights like polished amber. "Control your animal," he snapped, but the farmer wasn't listening. He'd seen that look before years ago, when a cornered stallion on his ranch had shattered a 3-inch oak fence with a single kick. A high-pitched whine cut through the tension, one of the lab machines spiking off the charts. The vet gasped. His vitals, they're accelerating. The numbers on the screen weren't just climbing, they were impossible. Heart rate doubling. Muscle density fluctuating like something was rewriting itself inside him. Then the mare screamed. Not a whinny, a raw, guttural sound no natural horse should make. She reared, snapping her restraints like twine, and the suited man finally looked afraid. "No, no, sedate her." Too late. The stallion answered with a roar of his own, lunging forward not toward the guards, but past them straight for the mare. The collision of their bodies sent equipment crashing to the floor, and in the chaos, the farmer saw it, where their shoulders touched. The star-shaped marks glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The vet stumbled back, her medical tablet clattering to the ground. Oh God, it's not breeding they want. It's fusion. They're trying to reactivate them. A gunshot rang out. The farmer ducked as a bullet sparked off metal, then froze when he saw the suited man clutching not a pistol, but a strange, syringe-like device filled with swirling black liquid. He wasn't aiming at people. He was aiming at the horses. What were those glowing marks? Why do these people want the horse's DNA combined? And what happens when creatures bred for war remember what they truly are? The world slowed as the syringe flew through the air. The farmer lunged, not toward the suited man, but toward the horses. He didn't know what that black liquid was, but the look in the mare's eyes told him everything. Fear. Rage. And something deeper, an ancient, coiled instinct waking up after centuries of sleep. The stallion moved faster. With a sound like cracking stone, it reared and slammed its front hooves down, shaking the lab floor. The syringe shattered against the concrete, the black liquid hissing as it ate through the metal like acid. The suited man screamed not in anger, but in terror. "You don't understand." They weren't just bred for war, they were designed to end it. Then the mare charged. She didn't attack the farmer or his brother. She went straight for the lab equipment, her body moving with unnatural precision, smashing vials and computers with terrifying efficiency. The stallion joined her, their glowing marks now burning bright as embers. The vet grabbed the farmer's arm, her voice shaking. "They're destroying the research. They know what these people were trying to do." The suited man scrambled for the exit, but the farmer's brother blocked his path, rifle steady. "Talk. Now." Gasping, the man spat out the truth. The horses weren't just weapons. They were fail-safes. Centuries ago, their bloodline was engineered to stop rogue armies, to hunt down and eliminate out-of-control soldiers, enhanced by the same science that created them. But the knowledge was buried when kings realized no one could control the horses either. Now, this group wanted to reverse engineer their DNA to create unstoppable human soldiers. But they'd missed one critical detail. The stallion and mare weren't just animals. They were judges. A final crash echoed as the last machine toppled. The horses stood amid the wreckage, their glowing marks fading. Then, as if some silent signal had passed between them, the mare turned and nudged the farmer's shoulder, gentle, deliberate. The stallion did the same to his brother. Not a thank you. A choice. The vet exhaled sharply. They're letting you decide what happens next. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. The suited man whimpered, but no one was looking at him anymore. The farmer locked eyes with the stallion, his stallion. Intelligence. Purpose. Then the horses turned and vanished into the night, leaving only hoofprints that glowed faintly for a moment before fading like dying stars. The farmer stood in the empty field as dawn broke, the grass still pressed flat where the horses had vanished. His brother lowered the rifle slowly, the weight of what they'd witnessed settling over them both. The sirens grew louder, police, ambulances, maybe more men in suits, but none of that mattered now. The secret was gone, scattered to the wind with the last of the glowing hoofprints. Back at the farm, the vet helped burn what was left of the research they'd smuggled out. No governments, no corporations, no black market buyers would ever get their hands on those secrets again. As the papers curled to ash, she told them the truth she'd pieced together. The horses weren't just judging humanity that night. They'd been testing the farmer, too. That nudge against his shoulder? That was their goodbye and their thank you. A month later, life settled into a new kind of normal. The news reported an abandoned lab explosion, a rogue biotech group disbanded. No mention of horses. No mention of glowing marks. The farmer's brother went back to his ranch out west, but not before leaving a single bullet on the kitchen table just in case. The vet stayed in town, though she took to walking the back roads at sunset, always watching the tree line. Then, on the first day of autumn, the farmer found something strange near the old barn. A single hoofprint, fresh, pressed deep into the mud. No glow this time, but when he knelt to touch it, the earth was warm. That night, he dreamed of running not on 2 legs, but 4, the wind tearing past him like a living thing. When he woke, there was a single black feather on his windowsill. Not from any bird he knew. The next morning, he saddled up his old quarter horse and rode to the highest ridge on his land. For a long moment, he just listened. No voices. No sirens. Just the rustle of leaves and the distant cry of a hawk. Then, so faint he almost missed it, came an answering whinny miles away, maybe, or maybe just in his head. He smiled, turned his horse toward home, and didn't look back. Some secrets aren't meant to be kept. They're meant to be set free. And somewhere out there, beneath vast skies and ancient stars, 2 shadows moved as one across the open land, not hiding anymore, but waiting for the right moment, the right person. The next chapter. Like and subscribe for more real-life mysteries.